Hello, folks. Welcome back. Welcome back, my friends, my Patreons. Welcome back to another edition. My name is Raymond Nugent, aka Chronic Pain, the Inner Demon. How are you doing out there, folks? How are you doing out there, fellas, ladies, young ones? How is everyone doing? Hope everyone is doing okay. Um, Apart from what we're seeing going on in the Ukraine. As we see on the screen, folks, that's the topic today. And I want you guys to chime in. I really want you guys to chime in because I really want to hear from some of you guys your output, your input, and what's really going on in the Ukraine. Just to get your ideas. Because I really want to know your ideas. I want to get your inputs on what's going on in the Ukraine because this is devastating, my friends. It is devastating. Once again, folks, my name is Raymond Nugent, aka Chronic Pain, the Inner Demon. How is everyone out there doing? How is everyone doing? Hope all is well. Hope all is well, folks. Hope all is well. You know what I mean, guys? Once again, we're here. It's not a week now since the war, has been going on in the Ukraine. And the Russian invasion of the Ukraine is getting very ugly at the moment. As we speak, it's getting very ugly at the moment. The Ukrainians are trying to stand tall, but the Russians they're coming in with some stuff that they're not supposed to be using according to the Geneva Convention rules as far as certain weapons you're supposed to use. They call them cluster bombs. Cluster bombs are being used in the Ukraine and it's been causing serious devastation. Which Russia, I'm putting shame on you because those things are not supposed to be used in war. Those things are banned from all these type of activities. So those things shouldn't be used in the first place, Mr. Putin. And guys, as you can see, Russia right now financially, they're feeling the pinch of what's about to happen to them. As you could see, some of their banks, are out of money, and some of their banks are also people are in long lines just to get some money from the ATM or the bank itself. Russia right now, Mr. Putin, I should say, you want to do the same thing like he did to Georgia, Chechnya, Syria. Now, who's next, right? The Ukraine. You understand what I'm trying to say? You have a pattern on the map. So after the Ukraine, who's next? He's going to go after Poland, Lithuania, and all these other smaller places, Macedonia, so he could collectively bring them back to the Soviet Union. This man is living in a dream world, folks, in a dream world, but he's also a very demonic person. Personally, I call him Lucifer. You guys could, call him whatever you want to call him. But personally, I call Putin, to me, is Lucifer. To the things that he's doing in the Ukraine, where he's disrupting families. Right now, you have over 800,000 plus people from the Ukraine fleeing to Poland, Hungary, and other places just because of a no-nonsense war. Yeah, just because of a no-nonsense war. Right now, the Ukraine, I'm sure they lost over 3,000 soldiers. From the last report I got, according to CNN, the Russians lost over 5,000 soldiers. For what, Mr. Putin? For what? While you're sitting back, just lounging around, you know. So yes, so that's why these families are speaking out now, as you can see on the screen. They're speaking out because they have a lot of money in Russia and around the world, and they have their wealth spread around the world, and they're trying to protect their wealth. But is it going to work? I don't know. There's another thing coming for Russia, but we're going to keep talking. Okay. So yes, so we see women and children, disrupting, leaving their homes. Their homes are getting bombed. Women and children leaving their homes, and the men stay behind just to try to fight and protect their country, which is right. You protect your country. You have an invader. You have pretty much a terrorist. Coming into your country to terrorize your country, to form their own government, to put in their own puppet where they could use and abuse the way they want to. And personally, that's not right, Russia. You're becoming a bully in that part of the European region, and you need to be checked seriously. So, with all these crime against humanity that you're performing right now, Russia, you should be ashamed of yourself because Mr. Putin, eventually, sir, you will be charged with war crime eventually with all these antics that you're putting up with and what you're using, your tactics and your dirty bombings, your cluster bombings. These bombings are like vacuum bombings. People they vaporize and they suck the air out of you. That's what these bombs do to you. These cluster bombs, folks. Let's just speak on these cluster bombs just for a second. What he's using. First of all, they're illegal because they were banned. Okay, they were banned. All right, and that's what he's using at the moment. As you see, demonstrated when it comes on to fighting to get closer towards the city of Key, right? So he used the cluster bombs, which is the vacuum bombs, same things, same thing. It sucks the hair out of you, and that's how it sometimes cause your demise, even if you don't really get hit by the bomb itself. So this man is using some very serious tactics. Nevertheless, folks, don't forget, he's a part of the Soviet Union. He was also a part of the KGB, which I think he's a part of the KGB. So this man, he pretty much have ties around the world. And then, we all trying to figure out is he invading? Why is he invading this country? What's the purpose? What's your objectives? Why are you invading this country? Because you want to build them back piece by piece, brick by brick. You want to build back the Soviet Union. That's pretty much what he's looking to do. So he's obscotching his way around these small countries that separate themselves. And Macedonia, I hope you stand tall. Because I have some friends in Macedonia, and I would like to see an invasion of Macedonia. Romania, stand tall. Lithuania, stand tall. Just don't let this man bully you guys and put in a puppet in your country, just like he's trying to do in the Ukraine. I also take my hat off to the Ukraine government, their prime minister. He's a very strong man, standing tall in his country, in his city, fighting for the right of his city and his people, which is he should, and I agree with him. So now he becomes a hero to this country. Okay, now the prime minister becomes a national hero to Ukraine for what he's doing. Okay, so far. So can you imagine if the Ukraine succeed? Because it's now over a week, and Russia still are on a standby. Where they are running out of fuel. Russian tanks, the Russian armed trucks are running out of fuel. The Russian soldiers are running out of food. So now they're going through certain parts of the Ukraine and terrorizing the supermarkets. I'm sure looting supermarkets, taking out food, and also I heard they were looting banks as well. So these guys are pretty much terrorists because that's the kind of activity that they're performing, in other people's country. So they really need to be eliminated seriously. So the sanctions that were put on Russia, you could see that it's going to affect them, tremendously. Maybe not in the near future, but I tell you, within the next year, it's going to affect Russia very seriously because these sanctions are very serious sanctions because they come collectively from NATO and also the USA and other countries. So yes, so the Ukraine are really trying to fight, but for these refugees that we see, guys, are heading to Poland. I tell you, it's very sad because it's just a lot of young people, young women, and also the elderlies, the children's, are heading to Poland just to find some type of safety. And then from Poland, some of them move on to Hungary, and hopefully some of them get on to Europe, in the European countries where they can find some type of home for themselves and rebuild. But that is hard, folks, because it's easier said than done. Because I could really sit here and say that because I'm sitting here. But if I should be able to have to get up right now because of certain situations, and relocate. And with my family, even though I live alone, but I still have family, and worry about them, and just try to see that there's a war in my country and I have to relocate my family and stay back. Can you imagine how frightening that is as a human being, just to see that? But the Ukraine, you guys were warned by the USA that Mr. Putin, he wasn't joking about when he said he's going to invade your country. A lot of you people thought it was a smoke screen, but it wasn't. It wasn't a smoke screen. It was real true. Cherry ginger ale, it's good for you. So yeah, it was really true. Mr. Putin was really trying to, and he was really going to invade your country because he's trying to keep you away from joining NATO. And so said, so done. Now you sign the application um, to join NATO, which is going to take a while to get approval, maybe months, maybe a year. But I see at least NATO is giving you help when it comes on to um, restock you with weapons and all that stuff, gears and supplies that you guys needed to withstand and hold your resistance against Russia and their brutality. So yes, you guys are getting supplies from Sweden, um, other parts of the world. Germany also are sending in supplies, weapons, to help the Ukrainians stand against the Russians. So hats off to you guys. Also, the USA are sending in weapons. And don't forget, guys, even though they have these kind of convoys out there sitting for weeks now, threatening the Ukraine, there are weapons that could take out these convoys with just like maybe one or two strikes from some of these countries. I'm not going to say what country, but hey, I'm just going to tell you, there are weapons, that could take out, some of these convoys, maybe one or two strikes, and just take out these convoys, incinerate them. You know, so so guys, I know that a lot of people are saying the world should do more on an equal scale, but yes, I agree. But this war, you have to understand, is a just provocation. It's a provocation war. It's very unique, and the world have to try to be careful how they apply themselves as far as getting involved with boots on the ground. But I also have to say that I agree with the Ukrainians that they need some here support as far as no-fly zones, so that they could feel more safer in those zones when it comes down to the no-fly areas. So at least Russians airplanes can't come in and strike um, from that area. But it would also involve like USA or British or other European allies to come in and sacrifice their fighter pilots and also get their countries entangled a little bit more in this war. And then it might cause a catastrophe. Yeah, it might. It might cause a catastrophe, folks. So it's very unique, this war. And I understand why countries are using diplomacy and also intelligence and issuing supplies to the Ukraine to fight Russia. But my opinion is, folks, we should go in actually and help the Ukraine. This is just my personal opinion. We should go in. Exactly. Go in and try to help them. Strike, knock out certain places in Russia. I really think Russia need a wake up call as far as a launch, into Russia, a missile I'm talking about, launch into Russia and give them a wake up call. Right in the center of Russia, in Moscow. Yeah, a serious missile in the center of Moscow and give Russia a wake up call. Because Poland, you're next to be invaded. You have to be careful. You see what happened to Chechnya, you see what happened to Georgia, and you also see what happened to Syria. So Poland, you have to be very careful when it comes on to Russia, Mr. Putin, and his allies, and their purpose of doing what they're doing, which we all could see black and white is pretty much to get y'all back into the Soviet Union. So he feel more empowered when he collectively have all these countries around him where he ruled these governments, have them as his puppets, and that's what he's looking for. But when you see government would stand and say no to this man, no, you want to start a war, and that's not the way the world's supposed to go, Mr. Putin. You have to really understand that people have their lives, their say, their beliefs. So why are you trying to conquer Kiev? You know, exactly. Why are you trying to conquer these places? We see where you hit schools in the Ukraine, your missiles hit hospitals. Now you have people in the hospitals are in the basement. The young born babies are in the basement with a nurse, and also the doctors just trying to assist them and help them trying to save their lives. Mr. Putin, how do you feel about these things? Um, this is war crime. This is crime on humanity. This is so not right. This is so unjust. This is so uncalled for. This is just nothing but provocation and just being a bully and trying to spread your wings and try to collect back most of these countries that separated from the Soviet Union. You're trying to bring them back to the Union so you could be more of a dinosaur in this world. Why are you so afraid of the West that you have to do what you have to do, Mr. Putin? Why are you so afraid of the West that you have to sacrifice some of the people's life? Why are you so afraid? Why are you so afraid? Why are you so afraid of the West that you have to do all these brutalities, these unnecessary invasions, where you see people actually broke off from the Soviet Union and have their own solidarity, right? They have their own politics, their own government, their own life, their own beliefs, their own way of going on an everyday basis. So yes, guys, as you can see, the family, the oligarch, they're speaking out. They're speaking out because they have a lot of money involved when it comes on to what's going on with Russia. Because for them, all their yachts, their private jets, um, their mansions around the world, their bank accounts around the world. Right now, the FBI is going after all of those and seizing them, shutting them down, shutting them down. So that's why you see this family speaking up, because financially it's already hurting them and they know it's going to hurt them. So, with all that said, collectively, with what's going to happen with Russia, with the financial market, with the stock market shut down, and all the people demonstrating, getting even locked up and thrown in jail. Over 6,000 people are in jail in Russia just for demonstrating against the war in the Ukraine. The banks in Russia, some of them, the machines are not working. The banks have no money. So Russia, you're going to take your people back 30 years, Mr. Putin. That's pretty much what you're doing, taking your folks back 30 years. 30 years. That's what you're doing, taking the country back 30 years. Because if you notice, Mr. Putin, the world is slowly isolating you financially. And that's where it starts, financially. They cut off your finance. Yes, you have oil. You can sell it to certain places, but we still could tap in and cut you off. You might be dependent on crypto. Maybe that's the way you trying to figure out how you're going to run your wealth in crypto, because sometimes it's really hard to chase crypto. That's why the government really trying to get a hold of crypto. They were trying to get a hold of crypto. So maybe that's the only way I see you could go as far as funneling your money around the world is in crypto. So maybe that's your alternative, Mr. Putin, is to go crypto. But from what I understand, the feds, they are seizing a lot of yachts as we speak, private jets as we speak, mansions as we speak from people like the oligarch and all these other billionaires in Russia that supply Mr. Putin with his rhetoric. They fund his belief. They fund his narcissist ways. They fund also his crime on humanity. So yes, they have to be sanctioned to the fullest. So that's what you see going on right now with the federal government, which I am glad they're doing that, because if that weren't happening, I don't think we'll see this family speaking out and condemn Mr. Putin for what he's doing in the Ukraine. So now, my question is, with all that said, and with everything that's going on in the Ukraine, do you guys think, before I ask the question, I want you guys to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share the video, like the video, tell a friend to tell a friend about the channel, Chronic Pain Unit Demon. My name is Raymond Nugent, aka Chronic Pain Unit Demon. So yes, with all that said, guys, what do you think Mr. Putin, his agenda, what do you think all what he's doing stand for? Knowing that he's losing financially, his country is collapsing. Yes, he have money in other places around the world because Mr. Putin owns a big percentage of the banks in Russia. A lot of them are getting frozen, shut down. Swiss banks, other places getting shut down. Yachts, jets are getting frozen, seized. Mansions are getting seized. But Mr. Putin is also attacking the Ukraine from the Black Sea, where you have these warships, and they're invading the Ukraine from also that side of the world. So when it comes on to the invasion, they're coming in from different parts, different entries, like they're surrounding this country, surrounding the capitals, the ones that they really want to dominate. But as you can see, they're running out of fuel, out of food. Shame on you, Mr. Putin. How can't you feed your soldiers? How can't you refuel your tanks? If you're going to war, you should have all these type of things in place where you run out of fuel, you have something to come and fuel you, a truck. You have a fuel truck to refuel you. You run out of food, people have food to eat, so they could stand strong and fight war. It's a shame that your country, Mr. Putin, Russia, your soldiers, after going into the Ukraine to looting these grocery stores in the Ukraine to find food to eat, also looting the banks in the Ukraine and putting money in their pockets. That's just to show Mr. Putin how much of a demon you are in your country, because these people, they live off barely nothing while you live off extreme wealth with your friends. And speaking of wealth, Mr. Putin, you and your friends suck Russia dry. You suck the Russian peoples dry after your wealth, and you pocket it and you use it for your own regime, your own ideology. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing right now. And it's so wrong. It's unjust. It's inhuman. So yes, it's war crime up in Russia. And I think the entire world should get involved more and punish you to the fullest. What I'm talking about is dropping some missiles, on you, so you can understand and feel. All the people feel the fear of living, of running, of chasing, of separating from their families. Let you feel how they feel. So yes, what goes around comes around. So I wish that upon you, with no joke. With no joke. You have your convoys of trucks lining up about 15 to 20 miles away from the city of Kiev, where now this is the second round because you didn't really win the first round. You didn't think it was going to take this long. So now this is your second round. And within a lot of people's mind, even mine as well, I think this is where we're going to see the most evil and destruction from Mr. Putin when it comes on to destruct the Ukraine buildings. Because as you see before, He has been targeting civilian buildings, where civilian buildings have got hits, where civilians, over 2,000 civilians die, folks. Over 2,000 civilians already died in this war, unnecessary war. Okay, where as you can see, Russia shot missiles into places like a gym, per se, and places like schools, places like hospitals. Those are the places that they're targeting, and those are just regular civilian places, which is so wrong. And those are not military targets. So Russia, you are supposed to be charged with war crime, for what you're doing. Shame upon you, Mr. Putin. These things are barbaric. Medica, Poland. That's where the people are heading towards. Medica, Medyka, Medica, Poland. That's where a lot of these people are entering from, just to get over into Poland, just to find some type of security. You know, I see people with just one suitcase, one suitcase. That's all their life. That's what they're traveling with at the moment. You have a child, you have two kids, and you're only traveling with one suitcase, and that's how you're going to start your life over. You know what I mean? At the age as some people are, some people are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. One suitcase, you don't even know where your destination is going to be. But you have to go start life over because of this no nonsense war and this man and his ideology and his beliefs around this world, which is nonsense. So freezing all these yachts, these private jets, these mansions, yes, it's just a part of it where, and also the accounts of these guys, and that's where they feel it the most. Really, they're financed, But you also have to understand they also have other places and other entities where they invest in, so they could still survive. And that's why I mentioned crypto, because it's really hard to trace crypto and as far as who invests and what they invest in crypto. So, Mr. Vladimir Putin, how do you feel about what you're doing to the Ukraine? Because for now, I should say, how do you feel about the Ukraine standing tall and fighting back at you and let you know that, what, you're not going to run over me? It's going to take a lot for you to run over me. So how do you feel about the Ukraine standing tall, fighting back at you, Mr. Putin? How do you feel? Because right now, I'm sure you are very annoyed. You are very ticked off. But you have to understand. You remember Mr. Gorbachev, Mr. Putin? Do you remember the history of Mr. Gorbachev? What if that should happen to you, Mr. Putin? Because financially, your country is pretty much going into a drain. Your billionaires, their stocks, their assets have been frozen. What if it goes back to what happens to Mr. Gorbachev? What if they form a coup? Wow. Did I say that? Did I say that? Yes, I did. What if there's a coup coming within your government, Mr. Putin? What if there's a coup coming within your government? It's not impossible, folks. This happened before. Not impossible. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So for you, Mr. Putin, and your friends, and your money that you thought you tucked away, the feds are digging in deep into your guys' finance. And also the feds need to look at England, where you guys, tucked your families away, and also some of your wealth. And England, you need to weed them out and send them back to Russia. England, I'm going to get on your case, but not today, another day. England, you need to do a little bit more as far as when it comes on to the Ukraine. The people you have in your country from Russia, the families of wealth in your country, I think you need to kick them out, send them back to Russia. That's just my opinion. Send all of them back to Russia. Putin went to the Geneva Convention in June, and there was a talk about nuclear weapon. And the talk was that nuclear weapon have no place in nothing. So collectively, all governments, all countries, they have an understanding when it comes on to nuclear weapon. Let me say that again. Back in June, last June, our president of the United States, President Biden, also President Vladimir Putin, and other presidents, they had a conference in Geneva, and they spoke about nuclear weapons. Collectively, they all assure that nuclear weapons have no place in this world in any form of war whatsoever. It's condemned. Then this man turned around, went to his country, started a war, see where he was getting resistance put up by him. Then he threatened people with nuclear weapon. That's why you can't trust Putin. Can't trust Putin for nothing. You see? Can't trust him for nothing. Not even from here to there. You can't trust him. Yeah. So that's pretty much what he did. So he's trying to fight and with all his might to get into these countries so he could put in all these puppets so they don't join NATO, right? Because once you join NATO, then you really can't go back with the Soviet Union, you know, and their nonsense and their rhetorics. Just like how we had Chechnya. And Moldova, you have to also watch out, be careful. You know, you might be next as well. You know, yeah. So this man comes up with all these nonsense why he should invade the Ukraine that make no sense to no country around this world, and then start a war. Mr. Putin needs to be charged for war crimes. Yes, he needs to be charged for war crimes. But the Ukraine, stand tall, hold on. I'm sure you're getting supplies from Germany, from Sweden, from the USA, military supplies to help you to defend yourself and your country. As far as boots on the ground from other countries, I don't know when and how that's going to go. As far as air protection, like flyover protection in the airspace, I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen with the coalition, with NATO, the USA, because I think you really guys really need that protection in that airspace just to try to keep Russia at bay. So you guys really need that airspace protection. So I think at least that much you guys should get for now. So yes, folks, with the financial sanctions that are waved upon Russia, Russia's government, and also the Russian billionaires, is very, very, very strong. Very strong. So people are speaking out. Guys, I want you to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this family, speaking out now about they condemn what Mr. Putin is doing. The family of, the oligarch, one of the big time billionaires in Russia that also helped fund Mr. Putin, the oligarch. Let me rephrase that. Guys, comment down below. Let me know what you think about the oligarch and their support with Mr. Putin and their nonsense. And now, because a lot of their assets have been frozen frozen by all these NATO countries, USA, Sweden, Switzerland, all these places. So now they're speaking out. Is it too late for them? Is it too late? Because they were going along with Mr. Putin's rhetoric. So is it too late for them? Yes, it is. Because a lot of people have died already. People have been relocating 100,000 people and plus. I've left Russia already. I've left Ukraine already. I'm sorry. Over 800,000 plus people have left the Ukraine already, fleeing for their lives. Young women and children's, babies, walking in the freezing temperature. It's snowing in the Ukraine, snowing in Russia, snowing in Poland, cold. So with all of that, people have to be going through hours and hours and distance, driving, sitting in their cars, walking to Poland just to find some type of safe life because of this man and his rhetoric. The next plan on the list should be how we capture this man and charge him for war crime. Because that should be on the agenda of NATO, the countries around the world, is how we capture Vladimir Putin and charge him and his friends for war crimes. Because right now, it seems like they're very guilty of war crimes. So, yes, the next step is how we capture Mr. Putin and his friends and charge them for war crime for what they're doing in the Ukraine. Unjust, unspeakable, tragic, sad. And folks, don't forget, we're still going through COVID-19. Russia saw so many deaths in COVID-19. People were dying on the streets in Russia, dying like crazy. So they had their shares when it comes on to COVID-19 and deaths. So does the Ukraine, so does the US, the entire world. And we're slowly pivoting out of this, slowly, because we had the Delta, now we had the Omicron, and we're trying to get out of it slowly. So now collectively with all these people dislocating and bundling together with no protection, that's going to be another outbreak of what? Who knows? With all these people going from different countries, because they have no choices, what is it going to bring when it comes on to another outbreak, into this type of plague that we have been facing for the past two year plus, which is COVID-19. So that's going to be yet to see, folks, because I really think we're going to have another big uprising just because of the war, people commingling together. Nobody knows who is tested or who's been injected and got their shots and God knows what, because everybody's just trying to have a better life, move on, trying to get out of harm's way because of Mr. Putin and his rhetoric. So who knows what type of severity we're going to see when it comes down to CV-19 spreading to all over Europe, and then finding its way back to the USA and other places around the world, all because of Mr. Putin and his rhetoric and how people have to relocate from their homes, running from bombs, missiles, gunshots, and also a troubling psychopath dictator. So yes, folks, there's a lot to look at when it comes on to what's going on right now collectively. There is a lot because the world is looking at you, Mr. Putin. And right now, if you notice, the world is isolating you. We're pushing you back 30, 40 years. Yes, without the Soviet Union. We're pushing you back 30 years, 40 years without the Soviet Union, Mr. Putin. So you're still going to lose, regardless of what you do and the crimes and how you commit them in the Ukraine. Shame on you. Shame on you. So that's why you see the elites in Russia speaking out because of these sanctions and these frozen accounts. So now they're coming forward because the war has been started over a week ago. Where were they? They haven't spoke out last week, not to my knowledge. So why after all these sanctions now, you have all these families speaking out to condemn Mr. Putin and what he's doing to the Ukraine? Are they tired of his rhetoric? I don't know. Comment down below, let me know. Are they tired of his ideology? Give me a comment, let me know. Are they tired of his beliefs? Leave a comment. Are they tired of his nonsense? Comment down below. Are they tired of his rhetoric? Thumbs up. Are they going to form a coup? Comment down below. What's next for Russia? Don't forget about Gorbachev. What happened to Gorbachev? Because I could smell a coup coming in Russia with all this financial sanctions. I could smell a coup coming in Russia. Easy. Easy. Leave your comment down below. Let me know. Yachts are getting frozen from all these big billionaires. Jets are getting frozen from all these big billionaires. Mansions are getting frozen from all these big billionaires. Assets are being frozen from all these big billionaires. All these Russian billionaires affiliated with Mr. Vladimir Putin and his rhetoric. So right now, guys, we're seeing the world. They're not fighting the war with boots on the ground, but they're supplying the Ukraine, and they're also fighting Russia financially. So the world is fighting Russia with a financial war while they're fighting a physical war in the Ukraine. Okay? And now the world is hitting you with a financial war, Russia. But you will feel it. Mr. Putin, your people are going to rise up against you and put you out of power. So soon, sooner than you imagine, because you're pushing your country back over 30 years, more than 30 years. The Ukrainians are people that like to live their lives, their beliefs. You have Jewish Ukrainians. You have Ukrainians from Russia, with descendants from Russia. Ukrainians from all sorts of the world that were, African that were born in Ukraine, Ukrainians. But then, guys, speaking of African, I heard a little chat about discrimination as far as people leaving um, the Ukraine and trying to get on the trains and get to the border of Poland. That I heard that according to CNN, that people of color. When I said people of color, I mean people like my color, black people, Indians, other nationalities. We're getting Africans as well. We're getting turned back because of their color and their nationality. And the Ukraine, if that's really what's going on, please don't let me get on your case, because right now you need all the help you could take from the world. All the help you could get from the world you need to stand up and fight and defend your country. So there's no time for racism, Ukraine. Please, I hope that's not true. Say it ain't so, okay? Say it ain't so. But we have a lot of countries are standing tall with you, helping you, supplying you with weapons, with intelligence as well, so you could stand tall and fight and hold Kiev and hold your country, and don't surrender to this barbaric person that we call Mr. Vladimir Putin. Because Mr. Putin is not acting like a president. Mr. Putin is acting like a terrorist. Okay? Mr. Putin is not acting like a president. He's acting like a terrorist. And this is the way terrorists act. All those cluster bombs that you send off in the Ukraine, Mr. Putin, all those things are condemned by the Geneva Convention, the Union, the Soviet Union, not the Soviet Union, but NATO. All those things are condemned, you know, Mr. Putin. The cluster bombs, the vacuum bombs, that evaporates and just sucks the life out of you. All these things are condemned. So by you using them, Mr. Putin, which people have seen that, yes, you should be charged, with war crimes because that's just against humanity, straight against humanity, straight against humanity. And you're not feeding your folks. Your soldiers are dying for hunger. They over there in the Ukraine, looting stores, grocery stores. They're running out of gas, out of fuel. I'm sure they're just like on a limbo. Some of your soldiers, Mr. Putin, don't even want to fight this war because they know it's a very unjust war. It's a no nonsense war. So some of them are doing it by force. People in their country are getting arrested just to demonstrate and speak the truth. You're shutting down medias from your country, that could spread and tell people and let people get the outlet of what's going on. You shut down all communication, when it comes down to outlets, media going out. So there's very few medias, you see in Russia that's given in certain outlets. That's what's going on in Russia. That's a form of terrorism, bullyism, and Mr. Putin, shame on you for what you're doing. So yes, I agree with the USA to go forward and seize all the assets of you and your followers, your friends, your peers, your mates. And England, you need to send all these people back to their country. England, please send them back to Russia. All of them that picked up residency in England, send them back to Russia. Okay, all these family of wealth that you have up in England, reserved, in posh mansions. These mansions need to be seized, and also these families need to be sent back to Russia. That's just my belief. On the Black Sea, where Vladimir Putin have this mansion, worth over $100 million, that mansion need to be seized as well. So for the FBI, that mansion needs to go as well. So there's a lot of things to be seized to break Mr. Putin down from his ideology and his crazy rhetoric. Because right now, Mr. Putin, with all what's going on, be careful because there might be a coup coming your way. There might be a coup coming your way. Like I said, friends, like and share this stream. Give me a thumbs up when you come in the room. My name is Raymond Nugent, aka Chronic Pain, the Inner Demon. So with all that said, folks, let me know how you feel about the whole thing as far as how I explain what's going on in the Ukraine and your opinion as far as how the world is taking it and how they're applying themselves towards helping the Ukraine. So let me know down below, guys. Don't be afraid to comment. Let me know because these are good topics to talk about so we can help each other. Mm. So yes, folks, let me know. Comment down below. Let me know. All right, because these are good topics to talk about because what's going on around the world today, and we're so sidetracked now because of this war. COVID is still out there. People are still dying in the United States. Whether it's by hundreds or a few thousands, but people are still dying around the world. COVID and the United States. Now we have this war comes overshadow COVID. But I tell you, guys, we're in a clusterfuck. Seriously. This decade is going to be one of our worst decade of our lives. This decade is going to be one of our worst decade of our lives, and we can see it already, the way it brandished itself, and it exposed how it's going to operate, and intertwine in our lives. So, whew, it's a lot to be said, a lot to say. you know. But for the folks who are relocating to Poland, I wish you well, and I hope you guys find some steady home, because I know in Poland, where I saw on CNN that people are inviting people into their home that they could stay with them. they could live with them for a while until they get themselves back on their feet. And these are nice gestures from people you see in Poland that are taking in refugees from the Ukraine, and let people know that, listen, man, we're here for you. We don't tolerate what's going on, with that regime. So any help we can help, we're here to help. So that's what we're seeing pretty much um, in Poland. When you enter in Poland, as far as the reception of the refugees. So hats off to Poland for doing that. But with all that said, this convoy that Mr. Putin have, on its way to Kiev, that convoy need to be taken out, because we don't know what's in those trucks. We don't know what type of weapons are in those trucks. You know, those trucks are covered and filled with weapons. We don't know what type of weapons are in those trucks. He could have weapons in there to incinerate the entire place. He could have weapons in there, guys, to incinerate the place. We don't know. So, in my opinion, I think those trucks need to be taken out, like seriously being taken out, because that's going to be the key fall of Kiev is the weapons that are in those trucks. And I think that's Mr. Putin's strategy, is to use his fighters, fight, around the globe, the country, and then he bring in the artillery, which is going to be the second phase of his crazy conspired war that he brought up on the Ukraine. So those trucks, in my mind and my opinion, have some serious artillery. So I think those trucks need to be checked. Seriously, need to be checked. Yeah, I think those trucks need to be checked. You know, and see what's really in those trucks. They need to be destroyed, not coming closer to the city. The Ukraine need to stand tall and win this war, and let this idiot, Mr. Vladimir Putin, go somewhere and kill himself. Seriously. The world is watching, Mr. Putin. The world is watching. You got away with doing this in Chechnya. You got away doing this in Georgia. You got away doing this in Syria. Now you want to get away to do it in the Ukraine. Your agenda is to bring back the Soviet Union, but it's not going to work. Absolutely not. These people are not naive, Mr. Putin. You can't brainwash these people anymore. They have outlets, media outlets. They know what's right from wrong, so you can't brainwash them no more. They see what's going on in the Western world. Some of these people want to live in the Western world. They're tired of the communism. The way you rule your country with an iron fist, where people can't even say nothing or demonstrate. They're tired of the type of living. So of course, with the outlet that they got so far, they realized that there's different lives out there. There's a better life out there, from the life that people were brainwashed to live in your country, and also better beliefs, better objectives, better understandings. So yes, Ukrainians, stand tall, fight, fight with all your might. But one of the sad things, guys, is this little girl and her mom I saw. It took them about 8 hours to get on the train. Little toddler, about 2 years old, 3 years old, and she got on the train finally after about 8 hours. And all you could see is the tears coming from the toddler's eyes. And from that tear, I could just understand, like, the expression on her face. Like, she missed her dad. Like, she understand what's really going on at that age. That's going to leave scars in these young kids, scars for years to come. Psychological issues on these young folks for years to come. These are the things that you're causing, Mr. Putin, adding to the fact that we're living in a big crisis, a big pandemic. And this is when you chose to start a war, a no nonsense war in this world. Shame on you. Shame on you. So, with the feds clamping down on all your assets, your friends' assets, their yachts, their airplanes, their jets, their mansions, their properties, their investments, that's a good thing. Financial war, that's a good thing. So that's why you have family like this family coming right now and said they condemned what Mr. Putin is doing. Family like the oligarch, right? But are they being used by Mr. Putin as a puppet to come forward and say what they're saying? Because Mr. Putin is a person that likes to control. So are they being used as a puppet? Because right now, I understand what they're saying because they're feeling it financially, but are they being used because they're also big time allies with Mr. Putin, so they also can't be trusted. So are they being used right now as a smoke screen from Mr. Putin to come out and say what they're saying? Are they? Or do they really mean it from the heart? That's a tough question because I can't believe nothing that comes out of these people's mouth. Not Mr. Putin, not his allies, his followers, his friends. I can't believe nothing that comes out of their mouth. Because a lot of these bombings that you're unleashing on the Ukraine, they're illegal. So you should be charged with war crime, Mr. Putin. You should be charged with war crimes. Without a doubt. You should be. Your soldiers are hungry. They're thirsty. You can't re up, Mr. Putin. Send some food to your soldiers, some water, some beverage. No, they have to be going into cities in the Ukraine to loot and steal from the supermarkets, the delis, the banks. They even robbing banks, folks. Robbing banks. This is really terrorism lifestyle. This is a really terrorism militia that's coming in. This is not war. You know, this is just these people coming in bullyism. You know what I mean? Trying to take over. I'm going to take this over. You know, regardless of what you say, I'm going to conquer this. I'm going to put you right here. And this is what you're going to say when I say you're supposed to say it, and how I say you're supposed to say it. President Zelensky is standing tall in the Ukraine. Hats off to you, President Zelensky. And you guys are fighting to defend your country and your city. Right now, from what I understand and from what I heard, you are already a national hero to your country for what you're doing. But before you were a president, I understand you were in the limelight as a little comedian, dancing on, dancing shows on television. So you're pretty much used to the limelight, and your charisma and charm to your people in your country, Mr. Zelensky. That's why they voted you in, and they're fighting with you for the victory that you guys deserve for your country. Russia is a real backstabbing country. They're backstabbers, never to be trusted. Russia is a country where the KGB, you have to be careful of people that used to be the KGB. People like Vladimir Putin, Gorbachev. You know what I mean? You guys remember those names? Margaret Tasha, all those people that used to rule with Iron Fist. Just remember those names. Okay, Putin has been coming from that type of era. That's why he's trying to use that type of strategy. You know, strategy and the wickedness of people like Hitler. You know, Putin is using those type of strategy with people like Hitler. You know, he's just going in cruel and wicked with what he's doing. Um, but like folks, I said before, this man should be charged for war crime, and I think he will. And with all the seizures of their properties, their assets, and the squeeze that the world is putting on Russia, I think financially they're going to collapse, and Russia is going to go back 30 years in isolation. With all that said, I want to thank you guys for being here with me. My name is Raymond Nugent, aka Chronic Pain Demon Demon. I always say before I go, who feels it knows it. Peace.